Aaron.
Yeah.
Why didn't you say it the first time I said Aaron?
Because it's pronounced Aaron?
You done messed up, Aaron!
Aaron is here. Thanks for joining me, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. David Miscavige has finally caved to the pressure. He is lawyered up, and he is preparing for a hearing in a civil case in which he is personally named as a defendant. This is Gawain Baxter, Laura Baxter, and Valeska Paris versus David Miscavige. Scientology et al., I think is the actual name of the case. Here, let me pull it up. Gawain Baxter, Laura Baxter, and Valeska Paris are the plaintiffs versus David Miscavige, and about 4 or 5 various Scientology entities, various organizations that are part of the organizational hierarchy of Scientology. All of the entities, all the Scientology entities have already accepted service in this case and have made their pleadings. It is only David Miscavige as an individual who has been on the run and in hiding from process servers relating not only to this case, but there's 2 other civil cases that he's been hiding from process servers from. To be fair to the process servers, David Miscavige is a very small, tiny individual. He can be very hard to find. He likes to hide. He's like the Christmas elf. He's like the Christmas elf, but if the elf was very evil and ran a human trafficking cult. That's basically David Miscavige. So the plaintiff's attorneys just last week filed a motion with the court to request the court to officially order not only that David Miscavige is now served, but that he is actually now in default for failing, for evading the process servers for all these many months, if not years. But this case has been going on since I think about April of this year. So asking the court to find him in default, essentially for just failing to show up for court and defend himself. That's kind of what happened with Alex Jones. He refused to show up to all of his court appointments or his hearings or whatever, and so he was found in default. He was found guilty on the complaint against him without the trial. The trial that we saw was just to determine what damages he was going to pay after having been found guilty. And that is actually what the plaintiff's attorneys have requested that the court do in this matter, is to find that David Miscavige is in default. Now, the court is not likely to make that decision, but the court is very likely to find that Miscavige has been served. So this is why Miscavige has finally lawyered up, and somebody will be representing him at the next hearing, although it's a little bit of a gray area. They're not officially representing David Miscavige in the civil matter. They're only representing him as far as the conversation of whether he's still been served or not. It's a very strange situation. Here's how this has been reported over on the Underground Bunker blog. It says, no attorney for Miscavige has come near the case, so total has Dave's evasion of service been. Until now, with the motion filed and Judge Barber likely to name Miscavige a defendant, on Wednesday, attorney William J. Schaffino Jr. filed a document with the court indicating that he is taking on the motion, but that he is only appearing on Miscavige's behalf in a very limited way. Just check out this language as Miscavige tries to have it both ways, with an attorney in court fighting against his being served while pretending he's still not involved in the case. William J. Schaffino Jr. Esquire of Gunster, Yoakley, and Stewart, PA, hereby files this limited notice of appearance as counsel for defendant David Miscavige in the above-styled cause without submitting Miscavige to the jurisdiction of this court, only to file a motion to quash purported service of process and oppose plaintiff's motion for order declaring defendant David Miscavige served with process and in default. Undersigned counsel makes this limited notice of appearance solely to challenge service of process and reserves all rights to challenge if necessary. 1, lack of jurisdiction over the subject matter. 2, lack of jurisdiction over the person. 3, improper venue. 4, failure to state a cause of action. 5, statute of limitations, and all other defenses available to Miscavige. So William Schaffino Jr., who's representing Miscavige, was the 2016 president of the Florida bar. So Scientology is putting its tax-exempt money to good use, hiring some of the best talent money can buy, some of the best legal talent here in Florida. I mean, I guess, I don't know. Do you have to be a particularly talented lawyer to become the president of the bar, or do you just have to be well connected? I'm not sure that these two things are related, but he's at least hiring someone with notoriety, with influence and standing in the Florida legal community, and that's what you would expect Scientology to be doing. So last week, plaintiff's attorney Neil Glazer filed a request with the court for oral arguments on the motion to consider Miscavige served and in default. So chances are we will have an in-person hearing in a Tampa federal courthouse, which I will be able to be present. I live about 20 only 25 minutes away from the courthouse. The last hearing in this case was fantastically interesting from a legal standpoint. I mean, myself, I'm just a layman. I find these things and the legal premises involved, the premises involved in the legal arguments, just endlessly fascinating. So the last hearing was about whether this case was even going to be able to move forward, because the plaintiffs, as all Scientologists do, have signed agreements promising never to sue Scientology for any reason whatsoever. And so the hearings presently in this case are on, is the case going to be allowed to move forward because these agreements were signed under duress, or are the plaintiffs going to be forced to submit themselves to an internal religious arbitration conducted by Scientologists, even though the plaintiffs in this case are people that Scientology has declared suppressive persons. L. Ron Hubbard has said once someone is declared a suppressive person, these people can be tricked, lied to, sued, destroyed, and ruined utterly. Like, that is how Scientologists think of, consider, and treat former Scientologists who've been declared suppressive persons. And yet that is the stage of the case that we're at right now. Is this case going to be allowed to remain in the courts, or are the plaintiffs going to be forced to take it out of the courts and go to internal arbitration? This matter of David Miscavige, and has he been served and has he not been served, this is almost like a sideshow to this case, but a very important sideshow, because once Miscavige is ruled served, the next hurdle will be getting him deposed. And if David Miscavige gets deposed, this is going to be a really big deal in the world of Scientology. And one of the reasons that Scientology's corporate hierarchy is so confusing and redundant, and shell corporations behind shell corporations, is specifically to keep Miscavige from ever being deposed. So that's why this issue is so fascinating and so important, and I'm going to keep you guys updated anytime there's any developments on this, even of the smallest variety. We're actually still in the very early stages of this lawsuit. We almost certainly have years of delay tactics ahead of us before this civil lawsuit actually gets to the point of holding an actual trial, assuming, fingers crossed, that that is the direction this case goes. So the next two events that we're expecting to occur here in the case is a decision on the what and the when for the oral arguments in this motion to declare David Miscavige served and in default, and also a decision from the judge on whether he's going to rule on the enforceability of the arbitration agreements, or whether he's actually going to schedule a mini trial to further delve into this issue before ruling on the enforceability of the arbitration agreements. So as soon as we hear anything on either of those issues, I'll let you guys know. That's all I have on this for now, guys. Thanks for watching and listening. Thanks to everyone who watches until the very end, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here.